Okay, so getting ready for our first match in the TMD Online Invitational 2. We know what our first round opponent is. It's TD from the Mana Drain. We know what he's playing as well. One of the provisions of the tournament is that you have to post your deck list after the round, and we got a first round bye, so we had to post our deck list. He knows what we're playing. We know what he's playing, so we're just going to take a quick look at what he's playing here. He's got a kind of one of the land still lists that's been running around lately. It's kind of good for us in a couple of ways. A lot of cards that aren't necessarily good in this matchup. Null Rod, not going to be that good against us. We do have fast mana that it shuts down, but it doesn't really hurt us as much as it does other decks. We're not as reliant upon our fast mana as a lot of other decks can be, and it's not like we need Vault Key combo to win. Standstill's not quite as good because we can often drop stuff that will give us board position to make this a bad card. I don't believe we have any targets for Misdirection. Mindbreak Trap will almost never come up on our end. Red Elemental Blast, all it can hit is our Phyrexian Metamorphs, nothing else. Jace the Mind Sculptor is going to be fine, but I think our deck is actually reasonably well built against it, because we're going to have Mishra's Factories to hit it with, so even if he gets it down early, we have a way to combat it. I don't know if I mentioned, but we're actually playing Nouveau Express, so I'm going to get to our deck in a minute. Crucible of Worlds is pretty good. That's going to help him out if we're trying to lock him out on permanence. If he can get that down, that'll really nullify our Smokestack quite a bit, as well as our Wasteland and Strip effects. Fire and Ices they're not dead, but they're certainly not very good. There's not going to be any cheap creatures for him to kill with fire, and there's no Blightsteel Colossus for him to ice to really get some great advantage off of it. I mean, he can still definitely ice something to buy himself some life, or to tap down our Mishra's Factory beforehand or something like that, but certainly not great. The Steel Sabotage and the Hurkyl's Recall and the Echoing Truth are all reasonably good options for him. He's got a 1 and 2 cast cost answers, so to lock those out, we would need to play Chalice of the Void at 1 and 2, so that's something to consider when we go in on that. Time Walk Ancestral is good everywhere. He's a little light on his fast mana, which isn't necessarily good for us. We also have Null Rods in our own deck. Well, we might actually. I actually have to see what's in this particular build of it. Mishra's Factory is fine. Wastelands are going to be fine, especially if he catches us keeping kind of a greedy hand that really needs a workshop. If he Wastelands it, we're in trouble. Mental Misstep is pretty much a dead card. I think he can hit Soul Ring with it and a couple things out of the board, but not too much. Red Elemental Blast of the board would be coming in. He'd probably bring in Energy Flux, Underground Seas, and Ingot Chewers, and Steel Sabotage. So he does have a decent amount of sideboard stuff to bring in against us, so keep that in mind when we're doing the sideboard. Moving to our deck, have over here, it's Nouveau Espresso. Basically just cut and paste Nick Detweiler's list, card for card. Smokestacks, Trinispheres, Tangle Wires, only 2 Crucible of Worlds. Probably would be better to have more of these in this matchup, just because you can really shut them down if you can recur your Wastelands and things like that, but still good. Thorn of Amethyst is fine. Spheres are always good. Like I said, we have more fast mana than actually he does. There's no Null Rods in this deck, but it's still not something I'm that worried about. It shuts down, Lotus, Crypt, Moxes, and Soul Ring, but outside of that, it's nothing else. It doesn't stop a Lodestone Golem, it doesn't stop a Metamorph. It does shut down Karn's ability to activate other things, but even that's not too big of a deal. He's either a very good blocker, or he can be pretty aggressive. Wastelands are fine, especially against his deck. Mishra's Workshop. Factories are going to be good in terms of at least blocking his factories. Kind of creates a stalemate situation if you both have one factory. You can't attack and pump, but you can block and pump still. So it's nice that we have the factories to match him on that at least. Ancient Tombs, Tolarian Academies, all just to make the multiple stuff. Nice little extra thing we have here is Ghost Quarter, which gives us that extra strip effect. He does have basics, but if we're having trouble dealing with like a Mishra's Factory or something like that, it's kind of a nice way to get around it. We can keep track of how many basics he has, and make our decisions based on that. Out of the board, probably going to be bringing the Crucible of Worlds. The Dismembers seem like they would also be fine as well. Not really a whole lot of reason to attack his graveyard. but probably would bring in the Ghost Quarter as well. Um, and one of the biggest problems after that is, Energy Flux and Ingot Chewer. I guess we could bring in Ratchet Bomb to that effect, but I'm not sure how worried about that. I think the better game plan might be to just try and keep him from overcasting his Energy Flux. If not, Retro Bomb could be an out, but I don't think that's something that we would specifically want to bring in for that. It also doesn't work under Null Rod. So yeah, that's what we're looking at. And our opponent's here, so we're going to get started. Alright, not a bad hand. A little lacking for gas. We can hit his lands for a while and drop a turn 1 Thorn. So that's pretty good. Let's see if we're on the play. Okay, so it's pretty good. Turn 1 Thorn of Amethyst, backed up by a couple of the spells, should be okay. We'd like to see a Lodestone Golem come off the top. But, yeah, not a bad hand. Gonna lead with these two. And Thorn. And I think we'll lead with the Wasteland. I think we want to hang on to the Ancient Tomb, because we are going to need mana in this game. We've already put down a Thorn, especially if he, drops a Null Rod on us at some point. I think if he was going to Wasteland something, that's the one I'd want him to do it on. So... So I might be getting a land here to play a Mox or a Lotus. That's about the only thing I think he could play at this point, or either he's keeping Force of Will up. And it is a Mox. And a Lotus, both of them. Okay, not bad start for that. It's not too bad because he's going to be hurting for mana. We can strip his island. He doesn't know that. That's another good reason to lead with Wasteland instead of strip mine. Alright, so I got a workshop, so we're in pretty good shape right here. It's a little too early for the we couldn't cast anyways, but even if we could, I think it's still a little too early for Tangle Wire. I'd like him to play something into it before we do that. And we might be seeing Jace here. And it is. So he's Fate Sealing us here, so you can see our top card. Really wish it was a little easier to do this. Alright, so I guess we don't have anything too scary on top, otherwise he probably would have had us bottom it. So he's kind of all in on this Jace at this point. Phyrexian Metamorph. Not great, but not terrible either. Got a couple turns to draw out of this if he's going with the Jace plan, but it's still not ideal. Just gonna take that out now. It's possible we should Metamorph on the Thorn here, but It's not really a great play. I'd like something a little bit more aggressive than that, but not really sure about it. I mean, we can definitely get out of it, and he can't. Maybe we should just do it on that base. So we get a threat. We should be able to play any threat in the deck, even with 2 Thorn of Amethyst down. And pass it off. I'm not going to bother playing the other Thorn. It's going to cost us 2 life, and I don't think we really need it, so... He's getting close on that Jace. 2 more activations and he'll be there. So we got a couple of turns to draw out of this, but as you can see, he's able to move any threats we get to the bottom. So we basically need 2 threats on top of each other to make this work. I mean, there's a couple things that I think would do it, but haven't hit any of those yet. And if we had, he would have bottomed it, so... Again, just not too excited about a Tangle Wire. I guess we could play it out now. Our life total isn't really that important. He's not putting any pressure on us. So I guess I'd rather tap this and get it down now. We have enough, sort of irrelevant stuff that it doesn't matter. But we can't actually play it through our 2 spheres, so it doesn't matter. So he still needs another Jace activation, and then he needs to use one for the ultimate, at which point we're pretty screwed, but we haven't gotten there just yet. He probably has a counter if he left this on top, but even so, we don't actually have the mana for it right now. So yeah, let's pass it off. I mean, we're not locked out by our own sphere effects, we're locked out by our lack of mana. I mean, that wasteland on the Mishras was pretty devastating. That's going to cost him some mana.